let me just introduce myself first. I'm the Executive Director of the World Communications Forum Association. As you probably most of you know, that we are hosting such masterclasses every month. So today we have Mike Southon, who is a globally recognized entrepreneur mentor, best-selling author, and professional speaker. Mike is the co-author of the Birmot Entrepreneur, a trusted guide for thousands of business leaders worldwide. And not only that, he's written for the Financial Times, interviewed over 50 successful entrepreneurs, and delivered more than 2,500 keynotes for top organizations, including Google, Microsoft, Rolls-Royce, IBM, and Goldman Sachs. Mike is also editor-in-chief of our upcoming digital WCFA magazine, which you'll know more about in the future. And in this session specifically, which is called the How PR Can Drive Sales, Mike will share how PR professionals can help clients make their first sale, craft a simple 15-second sales message, turn media hits, awards, and case studies into sales tools that close deals, coach clients who are afraid of selling, as they say, use referrals to double sales and position PR as a revenue driver, monetize press releases with sponsors content, and track results. I'm pretty sure everyone who is in the communication business is very interested to learn all these things. So, Mike, thank you for being here with us, and the screen is all yours.
Great. Well, welcome everybody. And if you're not familiar with the WCFA, it's well worth checking out. It's like a consortium of PR people. There's some sole people and there's some larger companies in there. And we have a conference once a year in Davos, which is a lot of fun. And so just check it out afterwards. And obviously they provide these masterclasses. So if I just move on to, this was the agenda as appeared in the blurb, and Jessica kindly read them all out. So that's what they were. And then what I'll do is I'll come back to that at the end. We can double check that I actually covered all the things you wanted to do and if you wanted more information. But that was sort of the topics for today. So my credentials, as Jessica kindly pointed out, well, I have written one of the world's best-selling books. I co-authored it with Chris West. Sold 100,000 of these. It's about entrepreneurship, but it's very sales-based because I'm a salesman, as you can tell. So I understand the entrepreneurial mindset, how to build teams, and all that kind of good stuff. Been doing it for a very long time. I am very old, as you can tell by looking at me. And my other credentials was, as Jessica said, I did write for the Financial Times every week for 4 years. So I learned how to write columns, which is a bit ironic since I wasn't the writer in the team doing the book, but I've learned how to do that. So I have a good sense of what makes good copy and what makes articles likely to be picked up by the press and so on. So that's a reason for listening to me. But I always start with this now, which is everybody likes to start with a saying, maybe from Nelson Mandela or somebody. I come up with this one: "May you live in interesting times," which is attributed to a number of people, including Confucius. And it's either a curse or a blessing, depending how optimistic or pessimistic you are. May you live in interesting times. We live in interesting times. I'll list it in a bit more. But I need to warn you in advance that I'm relentlessly optimistic. I am the world's most optimistic person. So everything for me is an opportunity rather than a challenge, but you'll see more in a minute. So, I mean, I've been around through several recessions. This is probably the worst one ever. They come around on a regular basis. Boom and bust, driven by the stock market. And I've been through all of these, they come around and you learn to expect them when you're as old as me and Andrew. And there was that mad dot-com madness in the 2000 when if you had something .com, it was worth $1 billion immediately. It was clearly rubbish. We wrote our book as an antidote to that, to be quite honest. Plus, what we've got right now, this latest recession, you've got COVID, these ghastly conflicts, and this work from home culture, which is very new in a lot of places, but it's really affecting people, how they behave. And Andrew, I know, deals with a lot of people that will always ever just work from home, which is a good option for many people. Then there's the threat of artificial intelligence, if you're a pessimist. It's a threat. A lot of people think their jobs are going to go away because of artificial intelligence, and a lot of people think we need to regulate this, but best of luck with that. I do a lot of work in that area. But I'm from London, so you must come to London and visit me. And the places you'll come to, according to TripAdvisor, are this one, Buckingham Palace, very famous place, lovely. There's the House of Parliament, Big Ben, the Queen Elizabeth Tower. It's called Big Ben is the clock. So you must visit the House of Parliament. You might want to go on the London Eye, which is not far from there. There is one place more important, and it's free, and it's this place here. And I'm 99.9% certain you'll know who these people are. These are, of course, the Beatles, my favorite band, and that is probably the most famous picture in the world. And I think this is the most important brand picture ever done because when they delivered this picture to their record company, EMI said, "Oh, that's great, and you better put the Beatles and Abbey Road on the front." They said, "No." John Lennon said, "They'll know it's us," and they were absolutely right. Now I show that to everybody, and they know it's the Beatles. You can go to that place, and I use the Beatles as a metaphor for entrepreneurship because they were entrepreneurs. So I can stick the Beatles in here and there, as I will do today. But for all our businesses and for all ourselves, we need that single image if we can do it. It's very difficult where people just look at the picture and think, ah, I get what you do. And yes, I'll have some, please. And here's the one that I've come up with for my current activity, which is I'm busy turning Estonians into unicorns, which is people with $1 million valuation using the magic of the Beatles. So that's what I do. I show that to people in Estonia and they totally get it. And actually, an Estonian pointed out to me quite recently that the Beatles themselves are wearing the colours of the Estonian flag, which is a message from God or something. So that's what I do. I help people literally from scratch how to become a unicorn. You don't have to go all the way to being a unicorn. You may want to stop at some point. But we say in Estonia now that to get from a pub called Hellhunt, which is my favourite pub, to unicorn status is about 5 years, maybe 3 years if you're in the defence industry. It's really accelerated. But yeah, unicorns are fun. There we go. But the reason we're talking about sales here is a great quote from a famous writer, Robert Louis Stevenson, who wrote a number of books, including Treasure Island, that everybody does earn a living by selling something. And we got a book, but good news for you is you don't even need to be up by our book. This is a Sales on a BMAT self-study training workbook, 100 and something pages, which Chris West wrote. And I will send you this. This is everything you know, literally from, as we say in England, from soup to nuts. You will get this PDF with our blessing. So you can do that. So you're going to get that, but also you're going to get a PDF of these slides. We've got Jessica to send them out. And you'll get the workbooks. You will have plenty of materials to remind yourself about certain topics and to learn literally the mechanics of sales. There we go. But I always ask people, why be an entrepreneur? Because I deal with people who want to be starting businesses and large company people who want to be intrapreneurs, as it's called. And I ask them the question. I do this as a little question and answer live. And people say different things, why they want to be an entrepreneur in the first place. But I put them in the correct order, in my view, which is the first one is we are here to make money. Don't be embarrassed about it. If your idea doesn't make money, it's a bad idea. If it does make money, it's a good idea. It is as simple as that. And so let's make money and not worry about the ethical implications until we're rich. But other reasons people say is, make a difference to the family, make a difference to the world, make the world a better place. A lot of social entrepreneurs out there have fun. It's a lot of fun being an entrepreneur. Not the times that you're struggling to meet payroll. Those are slightly miserable times, but generally it's fun being an entrepreneur. Freedom, you don't have to work for some idiot, the man or the woman. And a lot of entrepreneurs say, I've got to be an entrepreneur. It's kind of in my DNA. I can't work for a big company, which essentially means that they're unemployable by large companies. They insult somebody pretty quickly and get fired. I'm in that category. But the real reason we do what we do, us entrepreneurs, we're all entrepreneurs in this virtual room, is to create wealth. Now, there's a difference between wealth and money, which I'll explain next. It's an ethical question. But if you do create wealth, then you will end up as happy as these people in these picture. Now, I've got no idea who these people are. They came from PowerPoint land. These are happy actors, obviously making money, pretending to be business people or whatever. But let me just, and I've just summarized it because when you get the PDF, it won't build. So this is what I say on the previous slides. I put that in just to be able to remind yourself. So wealth, well, a definition of wealth rather than money is as follows, which is money is what you've got in your pocket, in your bank balance. If you've got more this week than last week, you've had a good week. If you've got less, you've had a bad week. But wealth is what you would have left if suddenly all your money vanished. Maybe somebody steals it. Maybe it's your fault, you lose it. But it's what you're left with if your money's gone. It's your reputation, how good you are at things, how nice you've been to people, Well, I like to think that if I really mess up as the beer mad entrepreneur, somebody like Andrew will say, look, you've been an idiot, Mike, but tell you what, you're good at sales. Come into a sales job and don't mess up this time. People will, help me out using what, and there's plenty of examples of people who have no wealth at all, but lots of money. And Donald Trump might be an example of that, but there we go. And the way you create wealth, and I explained this to students when I was teaching at university, if you do these three things every day, your wealth will go up. There's plenty of nasty entrepreneurs out there and nasty customers. And when you see these, you'll laugh because it's just so straightforward. This is not rocket science, this stuff. People think, well, I do that every day. Well, I hope you do. And your wealth is going up if you do. First one is treat people like you want them to treat you. It's called the golden rule. So if you find that some administrator or secretary or check-in person has messed up, waiter, something like that, you don't shout at them. I mean, they've made a mistake. Would you like to be shouted at if you've messed up? No, you're being an idiot and you ought to get over yourself. So treat people like you want them to treat you. Then always do help people, of course, but don't go broke in the process. I mean, so many people that are too busy doing charity work and helping people out and this and the other that they aren't making any money. So once you've made some money in a week, you can help people for nothing. And top tip for sales, always tell the truth. And there's a big, and there's a book now. Max has co-authored a book with a very nice lady. It's all about ethics in PR because some PR people tell lies about their clients and they get found out. You've got to just tell the truth. And if you can't tell the truth, just say nothing. And again, I put that in at the beginning because you'll meet lots of horrible people out there, horrible customers, horrible venture capitalists, some of them, but keep your own soul pure. Very important. But the first stage in everything, especially in learning how to use PR to sell more, is to understand yourself. Just understand your own strengths and weaknesses and be honest. I'm good at lots of things. I'm terrible at lots of other things. And I know what they are by now. I've spent years learning. But as I explained to the students when I taught them, there's actually three activities, sorry, in business in total. There's one I'm going to talk about, sales, my favorite one, because that's what I do. That's very important. No sales, no business. And there's delivery. I'll make a promise, and one of you probably has to write an article or write some software or build a website or whatever it is you do. And then there's finance. Are we making any money here? Can we improve the margins? Where's the return on investment? All that kind of good stuff. Sales, delivery, finance. The only three jobs in business. And all of us are probably good at one of them. And we have to learn how to do the other ones just to do our job. Because the labels that we put in our book for people that are good at each specific task are as follows. So somebody who loves to do sales, we call something like me is called a magnet. I like to be popular. I talk too much. I go out there and I get business, hopefully. So that's a magnet. Then somebody who actually delivers, someone like Chris West, who actually writes the book. He's a maker or writes the software, or does the work or delivers the product. Then finally, there's a finance person who's called a monitor, who's measuring value for money. They're the only three jobs. Now, in sales, it has three tasks as well, which mirror these three. There's what's called first hunting, which is new business, which has always been what I had to do. So people don't know who I am and what our product or service is. I have to start from scratch. Hunting, new business. Then there's farming, which is going back to somebody saying, would you like another bottled water? That's really easy. Anybody can do that. Would you like some more of the same? And then managing is just, are we doing enough activity to get the sales we want? So hunting, farming, managing. And a magnet will get 20% of your business. A maker rather will get 80% of your business. That's what the magnet does. That's what the maker does. And the monitor is just a sales manager, making sure enough sales calls are being made, enough people are turning up, and so on and so forth, enough businesses being closed. So magnet, maker, monitor, hunting, farming, managing, three parts of sales. But the one that most people are scared of is hunting. And PR can help us with that. But realistically, all of you, every single day, will have to do all three tasks. You'll have to do some magnet activities, promote yourself. I'm great. Let me tell you what I do. A maker delivering your solution, of course, and a monitor measuring everything. So every spreadsheet is important, not just for money, but also your own time, making sure your time is used most efficiently. But if you want to know whether you're a magnet maker or monitor, I'm delighted to say there is a free profiling tool on my website. So you go to mikesouthon.com and it says, take the free test. Are you a magnet maker or a monitor? And the model here is that imagine I'm your best boss ever, who said, you've been good and I'm going to reward you by, for this new job we've got, there's 3 tasks. Just pick the one you want to do, not the one you have to do, the one you'd love to do tomorrow. And you do it about 10 or 12 times. And then it says, congratulations, you're either a magnet, a maker, or monitor, and says you love to do these things, you hate to do those things. Now, the good thing about this test is it's completely free. There's no sign up. I'm not gathering your emails, and it doesn't even tell me what the answers are. So if you do it, just let me know I did your test. It'll take you 10 minutes, and I came out as a magnet, maker, or monitor. Then I know what advice to give you about life, the universe, and everything, about how to succeed in business. So do try the test and see what you come out as. I'll be fascinated with the result. But that's what I always ask for if I do some mentoring with somebody. Just so do the test first. Ah, you're a magnet, a maker, a monitor. I know how to speak to you. If I'm selling to somebody, I can tell without them doing the test whether they're a magnet, maker, or monitor, and you sell appropriately for that profile. But here's my first advice for all you aspiring entrepreneurs. I mean, a lot of people, and Andrew actually works in this business full time now, early stage entrepreneurs who are literally just starting out thinking, I want to start a business from home. I may scale it, I may not. But here's my first advice, which is interestingly, not have a brilliant idea first. Because I hear loads of ideas and people say, what do you think? I say, brilliant. Let's just see if you're going to be the person who makes money out of it. Now, my first advice is to find your foil or opposite. So whatever profile you come out at on that profiling tool, find somebody who's the opposite. So good examples of foils are an extrovert and an introvert. That's me and Chris. I'm the pathological extrovert. He's more cerebral and introvert. You know, optimist and a realist, an ideas person and a delivery expert. Find the person, whichever one you're best at, find person who has the opposite. You've got to agree with them about all ethical, spiritual, business matters on a general term, but you've got different ways of looking at things. And so you've got to have at least one magnet in the team or somebody who knows how to be a magnet, and either a maker or a monitor. And the best example of these two people here, who you'll recognize as the Beatles, John Lennon and Paul McCartney. Now, Paul McCartney is a pathological extrovert. I'm sure he won't mind me saying. He's still out touring, even though his voice isn't what it was. He loves the adulation. Good for him. 83 years or 84 years old now. John Lennon was an introvert, actually. He was a very talkative guy, but he hated going on stage. He was sick before he went on stage. He'd much rather be in the studio remixing Strawberry Fields Forever rather than going out and doing a gig. And the song they wrote together, which I'll play for you, sums up how two foils work together well, the optimist and the realist, because it's on Sergeant Pepper, as them and Sergeant Pepper. And the first lyric is by Paul McCartney, the optimist, and the second lyric is by John Lennon, the realist or the pessimist. So just check this out. No worse. Got a minute, it's getting better. Can't get any worse. I got a brilliant idea for a business. We better not set fire to people. You need that yin and yang of intellectual thought to look at things from both sides. It's interesting, when Chris and I rewrote our book, been out 20-something years now, we rewrote it in 2018. We went through it line by line. Did we still believe that? Did we still believe that? And we'd have discussions, not arguments. We never argued. We'd known each other since 1967, but every topic I'd fight the argument of, well, if I say this, I'll get more laughs live and more people will love me and I'll get bigger rounds of applause. And Chris was thinking, does it actually make sense? And we had to both agree on it. So my best advice for all you lone entrepreneurs out there is find your foil and develop a business. All the famous entrepreneurs that I've modeled, including the Estonians, there was always 2 of them. One you probably never heard of. There's the extrovert one and there's the delivery one. So, you know, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. There's Bill Gates and Paul Allen. There's Elon Musk and his brother of all people, Jeff Bezos and Mackenzie Bezos, his then wife. You know, they all had somebody in the background. So that's that one. But let's talk about the most important thing, the 15 seconds to win 15 minutes, the elevator pitch. And this is a well-known term in business. We didn't invent it. It's you get into an elevator, somebody else gets in, you think, oh, they could be interesting. I could sell to them. And you've got 4 floors before they walk out. So you've got to get it out in 15 seconds. I've heard many elevator pitches in my time, and some of them assumed that the elevator got stuck for several days. People went on and on. And I always do this, say, well, tell me about yourself, or you're at a conference or whatever. And some people go on for hours. You've only got 15 seconds. So Chris and I broke it down to the science, such as it is, which is just to say, well, what are the elements of a good elevator pitch? And there are only three. Because often people say, well, I make mobile phones. Okay, that's the second one. You start off with the pain or problem. Wouldn't it be great if you could call people up from wherever you are? And you can often start your elevator pitch with, you know how difficult it is to do such and such. See, Olivia's a perfect case of this, which is everybody loves to be a public speaker, or they're told to. That's much worse. The pain is some people are literally shaking with fear before they go on, or the day before they're not sleeping. That's the pain. And it's a pain. And there's no simple solution like buy a different hat or something. It's a big problem. The premise is she solves that through coaching. She'll tell you more. And then proof is, well, that's enough talking for me. Let me tell you about one of my favorite customers. We all have referral customers, reference customers. You can say, like, I know it sounds too good to be true, but check with them. There we are. Pain, premise, and proof. The elements of an elevator pitch. You'll have several for different circumstances, depending on who you meet, but you generally deploy it at a trade show. We just had Latitude in Estonia. Thousands of people. And endlessly I was going out to people saying, oh, what do you do? I see your company says you do this. And again, sometimes they spoke for days, but there we go. So where's the pain? That's always the question I ask for anybody starting a business. What is the pain you're solving? What problem do you solve? And your potential client or somebody who might give you money later will either be the sort of pessimistic person. Well, it's really difficult in our company. We have a problem with, they tell you their pains and their problems. Or they could be an optimistic person saying, oh, I tell you what would be wonderful if we could do this. So problem or solution, whatever. So you always ask, where's the pain? And you listen to them. You always reinforce it. Yes, that must be terrible. It must be a nightmare. It must be really difficult. Then the premise is just, we solve that problem, the one you just said, or we meet that opportunity. Full stop. You give no detail at all at this stage, because this is when the elevator pitch goes on for days. Somebody said, well, we do this, we do that, and then on Thursday we do this, and one day we're going to have that. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. And you lose them. They become bored with all the features of what you do. Just you solve that problem. You might put in a little thing. So Olivia might say, with coaching, or Andrew says, I help people start businesses from scratch with Zoom calls, Zoom training. That's one of the things he does. You solve that problem. No more detail. They'll find out later. And then proof is really, why should anybody buy from you? And this is where PR can be really, really useful, because basically you're going to come up with a story of somebody who you helped, which is really convincing. This is the work of the great PR person. So it's your case studies. An example of somebody who was in a bad place, now they're in a good place thanks to you. And it's people you like. If you've got difficult customers, don't talk about them. Just get rid of them if you can, to be honest. They're always going to be a pain, always asking for a discount. And also, these are people who understand that excellent products and services aren't cheap. They're not saying the great thing about Olivia James is she's the cheapest presentation skills coach in London. I mean, who wants the cheapest? They probably aren't very good. Hopefully they'll say she's one of the most expensive because she's really good and she can charge a lot for what she does. You get good quality. Nobody wants the cheapest thing except for a purchasing director. And there's a very specific way of selling to them, which I'll tell you when we have more time. So these are just your lovely case studies. There'll be more in case studies. But you may say, look, Mike, you're probably very well networked. You were very old and you're pathological about meeting new people all the time. I don't know anyone. Well, yes, you do. Because there's a famous sociologist, I think he is, a chap called Dunbar, who came up with what's called Dunbar's number, which is the maximum number of relationships a person can seriously maintain. So it's really, how many people do you really know? Not your 5,000 friends on LinkedIn. It's the people who, if they walk through the door now, wherever you are, out of context, you're not expected to see them, and you like them, and you can kind of remember what happened last time in a positive way. Oh yeah, you used to work at this, or you still at Marks and Spencer's, whatever it is. Okay, for a very shy person, it's 150. Your mum, your dad, your partner, whatever. For someone like me who works at this all the time, it might be 250, but probably not. So if you know 150 people really well who are willing to give you a bit of time and have a cup of tea and talk through things and give you some good advice, they'll know 150 people. So that's actually 22,500 people, 1 degree separated from you, which is enough business for most people, to be quite honest. So think about your Dunbar number. Don't just connect with everybody on LinkedIn just because you want to, but be very careful about that. So LinkedIn is the best place to find your first customer, or the first customer for a new activity, which is an exercise I do usually in August, is to go through all my LinkedIn and just disconnect from people I can't remember, to be quite honest. I can't remember who they are. I connect with them because they might buy a book or something. But I always think, who are on my list of 150 people? People who, if I said, and there's two on this call here, there's Olivia James and there's Andrew Bishop, who if I said, listen, we need to have a chat, I'll tell you why when we get there, will probably see me because I've built up sufficient credibility with them. They'll think, well, it might be a good story about the Beatles, but I can always get a bit of their time at a time to suit them. I've got something new I want to talk to you about. So these are the people you cherish. So improve your own LinkedIn profile is my top thing. Not by saying I've done all these things and I went to school here and I spent 5 years at Marks and Spencer's and whatever. Just put it at the top of your headline. I solved the problem of. My one says now, busy turning Estonians into unicorns, which kind of sums up what I do. And it kind of paints a picture of me having fun, making people happy and doing good stuff. But just make a list of all the people you've liked. It's a good exercise for anybody who's been in business for a while. And just say, hey, do you fancy a coffee or a beer or something? I've got some stuff I want to run past you. I could use your advice. And they may say, well, in a couple of weeks, I'm busy. If it's like, I'll see you in 6 months, I don't think they like you that much. But I do this on a regular basis when it's quiet. I just say, we should have a catch up and see what happens. So this is how you get your first customer. It's not doing marketing where a stranger calls in. That's quite hard. It's somebody who you already have some kind of connection with. They know what you do. They trust you, maybe in a different context. Leverage your network rather than look for brand new people is my advice. And here's how you double sales immediately, because that's the point of sales on a BMAC. Double sales immediately, or triple sales immediately. And I bill it as that, because you've all got some revenue, I'm guessing. Your first customer is one of your friends who does you a favor, then you build it up from there. But how do you double sales immediately? Or more specifically, you say, okay, Mike, if you're so good at sales, Mr. Sales Expert, you come into my office on Monday and double my sales immediately. If you don't, I'll tell everybody in the WCFA you're rubbish. Okay. So what would I do on the first morning? It's not just pick up the phone and say, hey, do you fancy getting some help from Olivia or something? What I'd do is I'd start working on your favorite customers. I say, who are your favorite customers? Just talk to me about people you like. You'd go for a drink with them to talk about something else, not just to try and sell them something. But it's the ones you like the most. So I say, who's your favorite customer? The style of the name is Jane and they work for a firm of accountants and they're the head of marketing or something. Then I'd say, well, let's write up the story. And you write it up like a novel. You see, Chris West is a novelist, so he writes stories and he taught me how to write stories. So it's always the beginning. Once upon a time, this particular client was a bit unhappy for some reason. So he did some stuff in the middle, and the result was we generated this amount of revenue. So I ask you about your favorite customer and say, well, how much did you make out of them last year? And let's say the answer is £10,000. Good. So this is the story as far as you understand it. Then I'd say, this is the clever part, let's go and see them, you and me. It's fun. I love visiting people. You visit them and say, here's the case study I wrote up with Olivia. Is this the truth or did she make it all up? And of course it's the truth. And this is exactly what happened. And also I say, well, is there anything else you'd like to say about Olivia? They say, well, what I like about Olivia is she always returns my phone calls. Olivia says, well, of course I do. It's called professionalism, Mike. No, put that in. She obviously had other people who didn't respond to phone calls. They're probably as good a coach as Olivia is, but so put that in as well. So you've got some really obvious stuff. Or maybe you did something for them and then 6 months later you didn't know, but something magical happened. They got some big deal or they got married. I don't know. Something good happened that you didn't know about. So it's an extra bit of stuff you didn't know. So you've now got the case study written from your perspective and from their perspective. Very important. You've got a great story. And I'll confirm. So you spent £10,000 with Olivia last year. Yes, I did. And you don't want the money back? No, because otherwise that's a different conversation. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about Olivia? 9.5 out of 10, because she never gives 10 out of 10. Fair enough. Then, and this is the bit that you will find more difficult than me, because you're not a dyed-in-the-wool 40-year experienced salesperson, is you say, what would you spend 20,000 on next year? And see what they say. They may say, oh, well, coaching. Well, fine, okay. I can't take credit for that. They may say, well, that's not my biggest problem at the moment, not the coaching. I've got that nailed down. Olivia does a great job for me. I've got a problem with finding decent bottled water for some reason. So, well, how big a problem? £1 million problem. So I say to Olivia, right, we're doing bottled water now. No, no. We'll find somebody. So find out what they want to spend money on. And then you say, oh, do you know any other people who need my help? You ask for referrals. And I know this is difficult for people who aren't full-time salespeople like me. I mean, the only difference between me and you is I've got a really thick skin. If somebody says, oh, please, Mike, go away, stop selling. Doesn't bother me. I talk to the next person. I don't take it personally. You might take it personally. You need a bit of a thick skin to be good at sales, let's be honest. So you take rejection well, they're busy or they're not the right person or whatever. So that's how you double sales immediately. All of you can do the same thing. Just make a list of your favorite customers, then go back to them. And I'll give a bit more detail later and say, do you need anything else? You just follow them up. Because remember, as I said in a slide earlier, 80% of your business will always come from existing customers. There is a 20% that'll come from new customers. So don't ignore speaking to brand new people at trade shows or whatever. But you double your revenue from your existing customers by selling them more stuff. Now, referrals. My personal experience is that most people are happy to provide referrals. You might have to encourage them a bit, that's fair enough. But farming, where people say, oh, we got another division, you could help them. Well, it's farming. It's not, here's a brand new person doing something we don't know. It's like, you've done all the people in one division. What about the new people in this other division? And you've got a built-in referral. So this is it for the same existing company. And hunting is, you say, well, do you know anybody in a similar company to yours? Because let's say Olivia's helping somebody who works in a bank, a big investment bank. The other investment banks are not going to say, well, we're not giving our competitors that kind of information. People buy them because they're a better investment bank, not they've got better coaching and presentation skills necessarily. But people, if you ask them nicely and say, please help me out, if they like you, they'll give you referrals, and then it's qualified leads. People saying, I know Olivia, I know she's great, check her out, because I heard you had a problem with the issue she solves. And all you need to do is ask. I mean, you've got to be a bit, do you need any help? Can I help you? Get out there, speak to people. You can network with them. Live is better than just online. There we go. So do ask for referrals. But the outcome you want, everything's an outcome in my view. What's the outcome you get? For any work that you do, and in PR, it's all about measurable outcomes, not the client is happier. It's like the client got some real business benefit. And this is something that you sell to the monitor in a client. Because remember, you'll go to a client and depending on who you're speaking to, could be a magnet. And they're a magnet because they always tell a better story about themselves than the one you just told. Or all they want is lots of press coverage, which has lots of pictures of themselves in it. We've all seen ones like that. Here's another picture of the same person. That doesn't tell you any more in the article. So, and they don't tend to have budget. They're just there to get more pictures in the newspapers. Now, a maker is somebody who's saying, well, I want lots of technical detail in there. So it comes out like a report, like a complicated technical document that most people can't read. Most presentations are like this. Too much stuff, too much detail. It's fascinating for a technical person, but not to anybody else. But I love it when I find myself talking to a monitor in an organization. They say, look, Mike, there's no point trying to impress me. All you got to persuade me is if I give you 20, I get 40 back. Pounds, dollars, euros, whatever it is. That impresses me. And I want to prove you can do it. So show me something they gave you 20, you got maybe 30 back. Then they're looking at a spreadsheet. So either you're going to increase their sales or you're going to reduce their costs. And in PR, it's usually increasing sales. You're getting more radiance for the people concerned. So more people call them up and say, oh, I see you've got this really interesting product or service. I mean, sometimes you're selling cost reduction. And that works well as well. that's usually increased sales. That's why the articles that you write have to be written like a sales document without it appearing too salesy. That was the skill I brought to the column that I wrote for the FT. I was writing about people and stuff and great, but it always had a sales outcome in it and a call to action and a upsell or something at the end unconsciously. Not, hey, so buy their stuff. It's more subtle than that. But you have to have that at the end of every talk you do or every article you write. So you now have an excellent article. It's the story of a customer, a real person who had real problems and is now happy. They used to be sad or whatever. And it's about people and stories. And this is something I'm going to be writing up soon. There's a nice story here, which is I wrote a piece on Estonia back in August last year, which said how the Estonians are the most entrepreneurial country in the world and they're solving every problem, including global warming. There's this lovely guy, Gary Erb, he started a company which has a way of sucking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and turning it into what the Prince of Wales is holding there, a lump of carbon. And you can turn that into graphite and make batteries out of it. So the Prince of Wales, God bless him, he came to Estonia, visited the troops, obviously. He went to see the clean tech companies. So there he is holding onto a bit of carbon. And that's an official photo. I'll have to get permission to use it in an article. But that gives credibility, which is, there's probably 100 clean tech companies that I know, but that company, Upcat, is one of the ones chosen to meet the Prince of Wales. He said, this is brilliant. You know, I'm really into this kind of stuff. So it's a story about how somebody who's probably quite skeptical about people saying, I've got the greatest thing since sliced bread, approves of it in a nice way. It's not an endorsement from His Royal Highness, but that picture almost tells a story of why you should go and check out Up Catalyst if you want to make carbon or you want to reduce CO2 emissions. I did a joke at the time when I wrote the article. I didn't put it in the piece, obviously, which is, oh, thank heavens the Estonians have stopped global warming from carbon dioxide. It means that Greta Thunberg can get upset about something else, and lo and behold, she did. There we go. That's a joke. Apologies to her and to you. There we go. So it's about people and stories. That's all we do, people and stories. And if you're worried about artificial intelligence, I remember a lot of my writer chums, copywriters said, oh, ChatGPT, that's me finished. Oh no, you can tell an article that's been written by ChatGPT, it's boring and sometimes it's wrong. It will be a long time before all of us in this room, virtual room, will be replaced by some robot doing AI. It's great for research, you know, tell me the 19 different ways to make a Caesar salad, you know, it's good for that stuff and it's usually pretty right. But putting jokes in, making it a fun story, making connections that, you know, you wouldn't think about the Estonian Clean Tech Association and the Prince of Wales necessarily until I make that connection. It's an obvious connection. That's a really easy one. There we go. So the threat of AI is an opportunity. And nowadays, there's lots of places you can go to for what's called sponsored content. There are people who say, we'll get you in the newspapers. You pay for the privilege, of course, and you pay a lot of money or a little money. But I'll just give a plug for an Estonian company. Nobody knows they're Estonian. prnews.io. And they're two crazy Ukrainians, and they've got a team of 20. They're based in Tallinn. I know them really well. And obviously, they can't guarantee you're going to get in Forbes. But my perception is it's quite difficult to get in things like Forbes or the FT or whatever. You've got to work pretty hard and have something really eye-catching to do that. But to get into Estonian Maritime Clean Tech Quarterly is fairly easy. But they'll show you how to do it. Just go on their site, check them out, see how they do it. And this might be useful to you as a PR professional to get something in the papers. And it was lovely. When I met the two of them, they were both wearing different black T-shirts. And the introvert was wearing a sensible one, and the extrovert was saying something which said, F me, I'm in Forbes, exclamation mark, because he'd obviously got somebody in Forbes like he was in Forbes. That was their slogan, so there we go. So have a look at sponsored content. When I write articles, that's where I think about putting it now, because I don't, you know, I'm just a lone wolf. I'm not really a PR person. I just write articles. But that's a good opportunity. But I'll give you the final word, and we can have a bit of Q&A. Final word from the Beatles, of course. Here they are. And at the same time they recorded Sgt. Pepper, they wrote this song, which is a song specially written for entrepreneurs like you. Just listen to the lyrics. John Lennon nails it back in 1967. So check it out. It starts in black and white, goes to color.
He said that you can learn how to play the game.
So there, the man nailed it. There is nothing you can do that can't be done. There's nothing you can sing that can't be sung. Nothing you can say, but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy. What do you mean easy? And we say in our book, business is simple. And we stand by that. It is not rocket science business. It's long hours and hard work and difficult decisions. But whenever anything's gone wrong, and I've seen things go wrong, it's always a very simple problem. You know, people fell out with each other or they weren't listening or whatever. So if you think business is simple, you know, long hours, work hard, be as clever as you can. All the entrepreneurs I've ever met said I was lucky, and they may be right. They were the right place at the right time. I certainly was in the 80s, but just make your own luck is the main thing. So here's what I promised to cover, what was covered in the outlet. So have a quick look at this. And because we're now going to, I'll open it out. You can put stuff in the comments and I'll answer any particular questions. But just think, is there anything there that I didn't cover to your satisfaction you'd like to know a bit more about or you don't quite understand? So just ponder that for a couple of things and get ready with your questions. We're going to do the questions now. So, oh, by the way, my upsell is I do sales on a beer mat face to face. I've done it all over. That's me doing it in Tallinn. And of course, if you're having anything that looks like an event, I mean, some of you saw me at WCFA Davos. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, live shows, I love doing them. And just keep in touch. There's all my details. You can WhatsApp me, you can email me. It's all in there. And the top tip is the shorter the WhatsApp or email, the quicker the response you'll get. Because if you send me a long discourse on what you think about entrepreneurship, that's a bit tricky for me to deal with. So that's all I wanted to say today. Thanks a lot for listening. Hopefully it was useful. Let's have a look at the chat, see what people are saying, and see if I can answer it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Stephen makes a very good point here. Oh, thank you, Sabasile. That's very kind of you. Yeah, some people don't connect on LinkedIn. You just ignore them. You play the numbers game. I mean, what I do is I tend to connect on people with LinkedIn without saying anything. See if they check me out. Some people check automatically, just yes. And some people read it and think, oh, you know, helping Estonians be unicorns. I'm interested. And if they're not interested, that doesn't matter. There we go. So yeah, you play the numbers game. To get your 150, you probably got 150 already, but if you wanted 150 new ones, like I've been working hard on Estonia, you know, I don't know how many out of 10, the better your elevator pitch on your own LinkedIn, the more likely they are to connect with you. Once they've connected with you, that gives you permission to send them a LinkedIn message, which they might ignore. You know, the reason I got in touch with you is this reason. And, you know, you take it from there. So we try to get an audience instead of a crowd. Yeah, well, absolutely an audience instead of a crowd, Stephen. That's absolutely right. Yeah, Dunbar number. Brilliant session. Yeah, Andrew Bishop, he's a genius. No, the sound was okay. Well, Olivia, if you missed anything, I'll tell you personally. I see you all the time. Well, I haven't seen you for a while. There we go. Oh, yeah, there's AI meeting notes to the meetings. You'll be able to watch this again. There'll be a whole bunch of text you can read through. But is there anything that I didn't cover you wanted me to cover? You can ask me anything you like. So, oh, and some people are sending me invites to connect on LinkedIn already. Oh, yay, hooray. Maria, hello. So let me just connect with Maria immediately and we can carry on the conversation. I mean, I love LinkedIn. Here we are, two different people. Yeah, short message. I love WhatsApp. The great thing about WhatsApp is it's short, it's secure. And I always use it if it's like, I'm going to see you at 10 o'clock, you're still available. WhatsApp's great. And I can filter it quickly. Just remember, short messages are the key in all of these things. And also, it's you probably have a problem with. You talk about their pain first, or I solve the pain of. So somebody says, I'm the most confident speaker in the world. I don't need help from Olivia James. Great. Okay, good. Thank you. Don't waste any time. So I make a joke actually about what is the human characteristic you need to be good at sales. And people say things like, you know, listening, absolutely. You've got one mouth, two ears, do the maths, and talky people like me speak too much. Product knowledge, well, never held me back, but there we go. It's important for some people, I suppose. But the most important thing is to be liked and to work out whether people like you or not in the first 2 minutes based on what you said to them. It's like speed dating. I developed a technique from a speed dating organization that I helped, which I do in sales on a beer mat. How to walk up to somebody and work out in 3 minutes whether they work following up with or not. And I'll give you a top tip for free. Well, everything's free for me pretty well. But if there's a group of people talking, you want to break in, wait for a gap in the conversation, just say, "May I join you?" And this comes from the great guy, Will Kintish, good friend of mine. And most people say, "Yeah, come and join us." But who are you? And what is it you want to, what is it you do? So then you got to hit them with your elevator pitch. So, yeah, so any other questions? Because we got another 10 minutes if necessary. Anything you want to know? Is everybody happy? Big question. I'm sure you are. Who hasn't been to Estonia? You've got to go. It's just hilarious out there. I mean, they're a bit focused because they do have the Russians on the border, but I think the chances of Putin invading are pretty slim since they're in NATO. But there we go. So, any more questions, comments, anything? Okay, let me give you one thing to do then, and you all have to put something in the comment. I'll leave you with this, which is, so I've been talking for best part of 40 minutes or whatever. What is one thing that you're going to remember from this, of all the things that I said, because I probably did, too much, whatever. So just write something down that just struck you as, because that helps me, for the next time. Just write down anything that you've learned from this, so, or you'll remember, or the best joke I did. Oh, the first one. Optimism. Yeah, I know it's hard sometimes. But you see, if you've got an optimist and a realist, I mean, what great thing about Chris West is he's not a pessimist at all. He's a realist. He'll say, I'll say, blah, 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 let's do this. He'll say, yes, but. And some people can say yes, but forever. They can always come up with something. What if there's a moon landing the same time or something? But he'll go from no to yes once I've answered all his sensible concerns. So what would I spend 20K on next year? Gardening, probably, if you fancy doing some gardening. I went out in the garden today. I'm not spending enough time in the garden. I'm looking for local heroes in Hampstead who can see I'm one of these people that's money rich, time poor. I don't have enough time to plant enough plants. And if somebody came and turned up on time, but that's the joy of the local hero. They turn up on time, do a good job, charge properly for it. And there's a whole group of them that we all pass around each other in this street who turn up on time and do a good job of work. So, but that, yeah, what do you spend 20 grand on next year? That's a good exercise to do, Olivia. You've been in business a long while. You just look through your invoices and you go back 5 years and there's always somebody, oh gosh, yes, I don't know what happened. We did a lot of work and things have changed. And they may say, no, you fixed my problem, but there's this new person joined and they're really, they're struggling with that. Sorry, I should have thought of you immediately. There we go. What would you do with AI? Should we use as much as possible? Ignore it. No, it won't blow over AI. It's going to get bigger and better. A lot of people are just obsessed with AI. There's so many people now, they put .ai by their websites and they think they're worth billions. No, it's a tool. And I don't use it because I'm so old school, but that's probably a fault. So many people I know do use it for pretty well anything. It's a tool for research, but you can use AI for a million things. It's a million different things, and a lot of people don't really know what it is. But artificial intelligence will solve all the problems of the world. Um, you need the will to do it. So, any more questions or anything else you want? Anybody else want to say something about what they heard and or something they didn't like? Anybody disagree with anything? I'm immune to pain. Oh, Cheta, yeah, hello. How are you? I haven't seen you for ages. You well? This lady used to work at CERN, and she was the most interesting person at the WCFA. She's talking about doing PR for this big collider, and she won a prize. She won an award for best young PR or something. So if you want to know about CERN, her Hadron Collider, she's the lady. So hey, Cheta.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I mean, you're most welcome to visit Geneva, and I completely agree with your thoughts on Estonia.
Mm-hmm.
Since my mom lives there, I get to visit Estonia quite often, and it's
Yeah.
a beautiful small country.
It's a beautiful small country. I took my wife there and she said, why don't we live here? I said, well, let's come in the winter and you can decide. But ironically, she'll be happy in a log cabin with 10 feet of snow, watching TV with 5G and warmth, 2 miles from anybody. I'll be going out the walls, but there we go. We're different people.
Yeah.
Are you still in Geneva?
Yes, I am. So I just wanted to say hi, to be honest. I didn't really
Mm.
have any questions because you were super clear and engaging,
Oh,
and I
thank you.
loved your presentation. Um, as you said, I've recently changed jobs from
Mhm.
CERN, where I never had to sell anything except the beauty of particle physics, to now working in a company started by CERN engineers. And
Mhm.
it's still right across the corner from Geneva, the CERN campus. It's called Advantix, and we
Mhm.
make cool stuff for renewable energy industry. So
There we
you're welcome to visit CERN and Advantix anytime and call me.
Well, you must have conferences there, surely, and surely you need a top quality speaker who tells jokes like.
I could. I mean, I have started recently working as the marketing manager, and I could see how your presentations could be useful for our staff.
Well, but you see, you've
So,
got the most important job in the place because there's plenty of external engineers who are geniuses. You say, well, tell me a bit
yeah,
about what you do. You get 2 hours, and most of us don't understand what they're saying, let alone we've whatever. So you being able to say, no, let me just explain in about 15 seconds what we do at Advantage. We solve the problem of whatever. Um,
yeah, yeah,
and that clear communication, well, you clearly understand the technology. So if somebody, but so few people want to hear about all the technology, all the features. And also when you're selling, you've got to be very careful of these people. So I can't say, oh, give me more information. And, they're going to steal the ideas, the bad ones. They're never going to make a decision. They fob you off by saying, send more technical information, send more technical information. Now, the way you get around that is you say, you can have, if you're suitably qualified, I think you're a sensible person with a budget, then you can have an hour of them explaining. And literally, the bell rings at the end of the hour. That's it. The rest you pay for. You can pay for as much consultancy as you want. Another hour, it's money. Because beware, these are makers, speaking to makers. And again, the monitor in the company that's going to buy Advantage is,
hmm
I don't understand the technology. Apparently, it's brilliant. They've explained it to me 5 times. How do we make money out of Advantix? Saving the world is a good thing, but reducing the amount of this or carbon footprint. There's probably a million reasons why people should use
yeah,
it. And you just deploy the right one at the right time. So there we go.
yeah, indeed. I mean, thanks a lot, Mike. I hope to take some of your lessons to my team and share it with them. See you at some point. Yeah.
Brilliant. See you again. So anybody got any questions? Anybody want to put their hand up? Want to ask a question live rather than just put something in. No, no, you're all too shy. I've obviously scared you to death. But well, why don't we close it down there, Jessica? Because it's nearly time. Everybody knows how to get in touch with me. If there's something you were too afraid to say in front of the others, or you can send me a note, or I mean, the best thing you can possibly do is book me for an event. I mean, it makes me happy. That's the main thing. That's all we care about, really. But I've done so many shows, so many places, and yeah, find an excuse to get to Estonia. It is fabulous, and the history is fabulous, and there's such a focused people. I'll leave you with this one thought, which is, I mean, Olivia will know this because she came into my lectures. I'll be talking about, I helped build the internet, and well, I didn't, but, I was in sales and the web, and all the people they wanted me to speak about, all the Elon Musks and the Jeff Bezoses and whatever, even Richard Branson, are not very nice people at all. And you can tell this because, well, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, I don't need to finish the sentence, but what are they doing? They're building spaceships mainly for their own glorification, whereas all the Estonian entrepreneurs who have made billions, the people like Skype, Wise, Bolt, all these really good companies, they made a lot of money, good for them. But first thing is you never recognize them. If they walk down the street, they're not having their picture in the front pages. Plus, they're spending any spare cash they've got to make sure Estonia survives because Putin could do something really stupid, but they could recreate Estonia now out of the cloud somewhere else. Everything's online, 100% government. It'd be obviously tragic for the people involved, but they had to do this before with the Germans and the Russians and the Danes and God, those other people. So they are very focused about, we will survive, and it's all about intellectual property. And but they're lovely people, and their language is impossible. I only know 2 words. One is cheers, sex, and the other one is entrepreneur, but I've forgotten that already. I got a t-shirt with it on. There we go. But Estonia's great. So anyway, it was lovely to see you all. Thank you all for coming. Very much appreciated. And I hope to bump into you again soon. So there we go.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Cheers.
And we already received
Bye.
some questions on LinkedIn. Andrew asked for your presentation, so we'll be
Sure.
send it to us so we can distribute to whoever you wants to check the slides in person. And before we sign off, I just wanted to let you know that we have our DevOps Communications Summit 2026 on April 23rd, 24th. Next year, Mike most probably will be there too, I hope. So you can get to meet in person. And our next masterclass in the August of 20th with Sophie Raymond from Switzerland. It will be on AI-powered PR. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you soon.